This is Jonathan Hickman, and you're listening to 11 O'Clock Comics.
Pinpoint accuracy. Like a Patriot missile. That's what I hear. That's what I hear. Or a heat-seeking missile. How about that? That's how it works.
Okay.
I call them as I see them.
Yes, you do.
Right. Just trying to get some members of this trio all jacked up this week. And get them all excited.
Mad excite, yo.
I think it's a foolproof plan. It is.
Nice.
Yes. And it's pretty foolproof that you came here because, we love you so much. This is 11 O'Clock Comics, episode 867. And I'm a very excited and optimistic Vince B.
Oh, I like it. I like it a lot. I am David A. Price.
I suppose this is true. I am Course and Bennett du Paris, but you, human slime, can call me Exodus.
Wow. Biblical. Some biblical shit going on there. I was going to call you Eeyore, but I'm rubbing it in too much, so we won't go there. But you're not Exodus, dude. You can't be in charge of that many people. You have work to do and money to make. You're Jason Wood, everybody, all together on this regular old episode. All we're going to do is talk comics and have fun. This is how we do it. And you know who else loves comics and has a lot of fun? The people over at cheapgraphicnovels.com. What do they do? If you have to be that silly to ask that question, you're not reading the name. cheapgraphicnovels.com. You want omnibus, you want trade paperback, you want manga, you want a collected edition that doesn't fit in within those three that I mentioned before, you go to cheapgraphicnovels.com. Let's go traipse over there right now. So I'm looking at the main page. Guess what? Spider-Man Clone Saga Omnibus Volume 2, 40% off. Hulk Grey by Jeff Loeb, 40% off. You like that Moon Knight character? Well, you can get Moon Knight the Mark Spector Omnibus Volume 2 for $75. That's 40% off. Thunderbolts, they got them, 40% off. Strange Adventures, the deluxe hardcover, $30. That's 40% off. I could go on and on, but I got to. Dark Knight's Death Metal Omnibus, 40% off, $75. Trigun, the deluxe edition hardcover out of Dark Horse. You know how nice these things are at Dark Horse. $34.99. That's 30% off. That's a great discount. Don't think about it. cheapgraphicnovels.com. And once you place your first order, guess what? You're going to get an email confirmation, unlike me today. And they're going to say, hey, thanks for ordering, blah, blah, blah. Here's what you ordered. It's coming soon. And you're going to reply to that email confirmation saying, 11 o'clock comics sent me. And they'll say, oh, my good friend, let us open another door for you. This is the door to free shipping on your next order. That's what you're going to get. Free shipping on your very next order. It's amazing. No one does that. cheapgraphicnovels.com. Go there. I just told you how much you're going to save. What are you waiting for?
Well done.
Thanks. I'm going first this week.
There's a shock.
Make it happen.
Yes, but...
Wait, before that, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
What you drinking, though?
Okay. I'm probably going to botch this because I'm not used to doing Viking. My Viking accent isn't very good. But I'm drinking Einstock. It has a umlaut over the O. So it's either heavy metal or Viking, right? It's Einstock Olgerd. Icelandic Wee Heavy. It's Sephram Blador. It's a lot of stuff. It's from Iceland, actually.
Yeah, they make. I like their beers a lot.
Yeah, and it has. I'm looking for an alcohol content. I'm guessing maybe like. It doesn't really say. It should, but I just can't see it. So it's up there. It's like about 37% alcohol. So I'm drinking it.
Damn.
It's not.
One of the first time I think I had it, the Quiet Man had some samples. So you buy the beer and then you. So I have a glass. I have the pint glass downstairs in the kitchen. But it was it's really good. I haven't had it in a minute, but yeah, like it a lot.
Nice.
What you got, Jason?
Yeah, I got that good coffee, and respect it.
You went to
then,
Italy?
Espresso or stock?
It's an espresso. Yeah, it's espresso. And although I'm in the midst of trying to raise my coffee game up, I'm trying to get up on this nice cappuccino, espresso and cappuccino situation and start drinking that. But we'll see.
Dude, Sanka.
And then I got a G2 lemon lime for after that.
Wow.
G0
Nice,
rather. Sorry,
nice,
G0. Yeah. Sorry.
You need that dessert afterwards. I get it.
Yeah.
Well, like Vince, this is actually Trooper Robinson's premium British beer from Cheshire, England. 4.7 by volume alcohol.
It's Iron Maiden beer.
Yeah, with Eddie from the from it's not the exact, but it's from the Trooper single. So
Peace of Mind.
no, but this particular he's dressed like the Trooper.
Right, but that's from Peace of Mind.
It's from the Peace of Mind album. Yes.
Yeah, it's a great album.
It's a great album.
They're all great up until
somewhere in time.
No, Brave New World's really good.
Seven Sun's pretty good. Okay, yeah, all right, yeah. I haven't listened to too much of the new. I still I like my little comfort zone of those 4 or 5 albums.
I mean, I had a friend. Whenever Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner would be played, he's like, "Dude, you feel like you're on the boat. You hear the creaking, you're on the boat." I'm like, "Sit down, Tony." Jesus. All right. Excellent. Now, let's talk about the comics. I don't know if you guys are ready for this. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's throwing the gauntlet down.
I really don't know. But, sometimes therapy has to be really aggressive. So I'm thinking this is definitely going to cure what ails you. But you have to, as in all types of art, you have to surrender to it. You can't go in expecting it to be something it's not, or looking for deep. Well, there could be deep-seated meanings lurking underneath the surface, but you don't really need them in this book. This is just a celebration of everything that makes comics fun. Okay? You ready? Okay. You strapped in?
I think so.
Jason? Venom. Fucking Venom. This thing is called Death of Venomverse #1. Ridiculous title, but it plays into the concept, right? Death of the Venomverse #1. You know who wrote it?
Cullen Bunn.
Cullen Bunn. In the oven.
Oh, yeah. Illustrated
by Gerardo Sandoval. Color art by Jim Campbell. Let me tell you about it. Are you sitting down? I need to know if you're sitting down, especially at the end. The punch to this issue, you got to be sitting down or it's going to knock you right on your ass. So you're ready?
Yes. With bated breath.
Okay. You do know that the Carnage is no longer Cletus Cassidy. The Carnage entity is a single unit now. It has no host. So keep that in mind. So the Carnage entity is screaming across the multiverse, and it has one simple goal. You could put periods between these 3 words. Kill all Venoms. Why does it want to kill all Venoms? Why? Well, Venom and Carnage never really got along, but with every Venom he destroys, he takes their powers. And everything is in an effort to get strong, to get experience, to strengthen himself for what will be the final battle. He wants to destroy Eddie Brock, the OG Venom. Wants to take him out. But he feels like he needs, go around the track a bunch of times so he can get that speed up, get limber in order to fight that final fight and win, right? So the Carnage symbiote is riding bareback, no host. Book opens straight out of the gate. He kills a venomized Rocket Raccoon. We see the Rocket Raccoon carcass all dead and shit. That's one reality. Then he hops into another reality and obliterates a venomized X-23 Wolverine. Then he goes and kills a bonded Ant-Man. And it's really inventive how he kills them. We don't really see how he dispatches the Rocket Raccoon because that opens the book. But we get to see the other two, and they're a lot of fun, right? So on his tail is Agent Venom. Guys familiar with Agent Venom?
Yes.
Anne Weying, right? And Virus. David knows who Virus is. Jason, do you know who Virus is?
I'm guessing he's another symbiote.
Yes, but who's the host?
Ooh, Mary Jane.
No, I would not read it if it was frickin' Mary Jane. Inside, under the symbiote, is Mac Gargan, the Scorpion.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the Scorpion, right. Okay.
Yeah. So they're hot on the heels of the Carnage creature. I got to be real specific. The Carnage creature, because there's no host, right? And they want to destroy it, number one. And number two, they want to protect this young mania, this young lady, Andrea Benton, right? She's a symbiote too. But she has a hell mark, a pentagram on her. It gives her this like infernal power. And they do not want Carnage getting this hell mark. Backstory, I guess Flash Thompson, somewhere along the line, was a gym teacher. And this Andy young lady, he tried to say, the only thing he would do, he had no recourse. In order to save her life, he had to bond her with the Venom clone. That's all I know. I never read anything with that in it. But that's what my research did, because I'm like, who is this mania? I don't know what this is. So, Agent Venom and Virus, they're leading the Carnage symbiote into a trap. Right? They're popping across realities, and the heroes are all from Earth 1051. This is the trap. You have Peter Parker, Wade Wilson, and Clint Barton. Now remember, David knows this. Because he reads good comics. The Carnage entity assimilated the Spot's power. Remember Spot, right? Well, it doesn't end very well for Agent Spider-Man. He teleports various limbs of Peter's and then closes the portals. So Peter's dead. It also doesn't go well for Agent Deadpool, who can take a couple of lost limbs, right? But Peter, I felt bad, right? So, and he kills Mania and gets the Hell Mark. So this kind of forces Agent Venom and Virus to call him backup. Like, oh shit, what do we do? There's a double page spread. I'll leave that to you to read and discover all of the identities of this backup group. And I want to tip my hand. In another slice of the multiverse, the Carnage creatures facing off against a venomized Electro. You may see where this is going.
And this is the female Electro.
It's Electro. I didn't notice if it had breasts. I was too excited. Probably not. Probably not, because this is an alternate reality. I don't think in this. Right. That's right. I don't think in this reality. Yeah. So easily eviscerates Electro, but in doing so, he pisses off Electro's team. Are you ready for this? I don't think you are, but it's going to tell you anyway. Venomites, this Electro Venom's team, it's freaking brilliant. The Symbiote 6. Venomized Kraven the Hunter, the Vulture, Doc Ock, Mysterio, Green Goblin, and Rhino, and they all are venomized. That is stupid amazing. And the last page is just like, oh, you see the team. Doc Ock's got his hands up, and they're all freaking venomized. It's insane. The second issue of this came out today. I didn't want to read it, though, because I didn't want to dump too much awesome on you at one time. So I said, ease it in, just the first issue, and then when you hear about it, there's no way that you're not going to want to read the rest of this thing. It's almost too much. But like I said, sometimes you need electroshock. But you need a little bit of that rough therapy to get you over that hump. This is amazing.
Well, shit, I know what I'm doing on Friday night.
You're going to read this.
Cover to cover.
It's a bigger issue, too. Yeah, it's like it's a little exercise. But, nice. I'm going through it. I had a false start the first time I read it. I wasn't quite in the mood. I was at a hard day. You know, this is the trick. Had a hard day, came home from work. I was just like, let me see what's up with this. I read like 2-3 pages, and the beginning is a little rocky because we lose Rocket Raccoon. I mean, regardless of what reality you're from, it's still Rocket Raccoon, right? Nobody wants to see the little man go down. So I was like, I don't know. I'm not in the mood for this. I put it aside, came back to it when my mind was in a better place. And wow, it's amazing. It's so much fun. And it's a 5-week event. So you're going to get an issue of this every week until the miniseries is done. I pulled the van over to the side of the road. I opened the back door and offered you guys some candy.
I mean, it literally, I mean, it's still a few weeks away, but it's like literally made for my birthday. Thank you.
See? It's amazing. I loved every page of it. I went back and I felt bad because of the false start. I read it again and it got better the second time. And that's even knowing what happened. It was so good.
It'll be even better when you read it the third time later tonight.
No, because the second issue, I got stuff to do tomorrow. But anyway, okay. So I don't know how you guys want to play this because I have a lot of Marvel this week, and I'm sure you guys do too. And I also have another Venom book. So we could have a Venom-O-Rama, or we could just group it all up into Marvel and have them.
Who's white boy? I don't know who we is, but
so I mean, if we have a lot of Marvel, I'm just going to drop the blanket because I don't remember the last time we had a Marvel-O-Rama.
It's been a minute.
Yeah. Or it may have been recent and it was just too traumatic for some of you and we just forgot about it. But yes. So
listen,
good.
Man,
this
it's
is
your show, buddy.
It's not. It's your. This is why I read comics. It's this issue is so ridiculous. The ridiculousness is just baked right into the whole pie, and I got to give Cullen Bunn credit and the whole creative team. The Symbiote 6, that is chef's kiss. It is something that I would come up with if I was more cunning or more bunning in this case. It's just good. Yeah, I hope they make this a hardcover. And the covers of this thing are amazing.
These things hit sometimes, like we all have things like this that hit us just right, and they tickle us, even though they're kind of corny. And then other things were just like, oh, that's so corny, right?
But I put all of my expectations, all of my questions, like, how the hell did he do that? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't have to make sense. It's Venom and Carnage. Well, it's not. It's symbiotes. Symbiotes don't make sense. They can't. It's just silly. It's silly fun. Yeah. I like the costume designs for Agent Spider-Man. It's real cool. Deadpool kind of looks a bit the same, albeit a bit bulkier. And Hawkeye, yeah, it's odd to say. And this, I had this shock when the first symbiotes came out in action figure form, and they were like lime green, and there was a bluish purple one, and I'm like, oh, I don't know, that doesn't feel right, because you expect a symbiote to be either black or white or red, right? But then it grew on me. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, and the accessories you get are kind of neat. Like, I bought all the symbiotes, all of them. The Hulk Scorpion one is phenomenal. You ever see that one? It's bulky as shit, and it's Hulk Spider-Man with a scorpion tail, and it bends. It's great, yeah. But I'm a mark for the symbiote, so I realize that mileage may vary on this, but It is just a lot of fun. And I know when Jason says he's going to read it, that he's not going to read it, but that's okay.
There is 0.0% chance that I'm reading this unless it becomes a book of the month.
That would be so cool. We'll have Cullen on.
Great.
And you say, Cullen, sell me on this book. He'd be like, my dude, didn't you read it? It's the book of the month. All right, somebody else go. I hope there's joy, because I'm bringing more joy after this.
Clearly, you said everything you read this week, except for one thing, was awesome.
Everything I read.
There's absolutely one thing that well, more than one thing, but one of the things that I read that really I'm not a slave to, but I appreciate continuity. I appreciate when creators respect the past, or at least remember things that have happened in the past. And of all the Rick and Morty stories I've read, Crisis on C-137 is probably, to date, my favorite, and that also includes Worlds Apart, the page that I inked. But this particular issue, this miniseries, and what happened?
No, I just said Jason because you rang a bell. Jason usually rings the bell.
It's true, he does. This miniseries is written by Stephanie Phillips, beautifully illustrated by Ryan Lee, and colored by Doug Garbark and Gabe Fisher. And as all Rick and Morty stories are basically most Oni books, lettered by Chris Crank. And what I love about this miniseries is that if you enjoy, not just enjoy the cartoon, but if you actually pay attention to the season-long plot lines, they are there. They're subtle and they can be hidden. But over the years, there have been some characters that have shown up more than once. A lot of characters are just one-offs, and they're either destroyed by Rick or their planet is doomed or whatever. Sometimes they'll come back, but this miniseries is basically, Stephanie's watched every season, every episode multiple times, and it's the focus is kind of a crisis, because a lot of Rick's enemies, not even enemies, but anybody that Rick's pissed off over the years, which is a lot of people, the universe, are in this story. And there's one episode dealing with this supergroup called the Vindicators, and in this episode, they put out the alarm. They put out the call for, it's like the Signal Watch or the JLA satellite, whatever. We need everybody to show up, and so the call goes out, and Morty's all excited because he's like, the Vindicators, they're asking for us, and he figures, this is going to be the second time that he and Rick are going to be teaming up with the Vindicators, and he's so excited about it. But we find out as the episode continues that this is the third time this particular band of Vindicators got together, and Morty is all just crestfallen. He can't understand it, and it comes out that they didn't call Rick or Morty for the second event because Rick just pisses everybody off. They didn't want that drama. They didn't want that negativity. So Rick is completely shit-faced. He gets stupid drunk, blackout drunk, and he sets up this massive. He sets up a bunch of booby traps for the Vindicators because they pissed him off so much. And basically, all of the Vindicators are killed off in this episode. Supernova is one of the only survivors, and she shows up in the first issue of this, along with Snuffles or Snowball, which was Morty's dog in the first season, who ends up getting super intelligent, makes a robot body for himself, and then like most of the dogs from that planet get sent to another planet where they can just kind of thrive and survive and rule. So you have these two teaming up to take on the Smith family and Rick. But all throughout the story, you see other characters show up. Mr. Nimbus, which is basically their version of Namor. But we find out who the big bad is, the person, the creature pulling all the strings, and it goes back to another episode where Jerry was trying to shave a few points off his golf game, and it's just, I mean, the fact that she pulled this little nugget out from the 60 odd episodes that we've had is just the chef's kiss is basically what I'm saying. This was a fantastic story. Seeing the whole family come together to battle this evil that's attacking Earth. New York gets destroyed. It's absolutely insane. If you are a fan of the cartoon and you haven't tried any of the books that Oni has put out, I absolutely, without a doubt, recommend Crisis on C-137, and you will absolutely not be disappointed. Ryan's art, like I said, is wonderful. I like he's still, you can still tell it's Ryan Lee. It's not like it's not exactly like it's drawn in the cartoon, but everything is still there. Everybody still looks like they're supposed to look like. It's great. The soft cover of the trade, if it's not out, it'll be out shortly. I mean, they even bring back the Rick and Morty zombies that were buried in the backyard when Rick and Morty came to this particular Earth, because they're not originally from C-137. That's C-137. That's this universe's, this Earth's designation, since there's multiple. But I mean, like I said, there's just the amount of characters that they bring back for this story. Absolutely just blows me away. You got the Vindicators. You've got Kiara, who is an alien who Jerry hooked up with while he and Beth were divorced. Basically trying to do it because to make Beth jealous. Not that it would ever happen. But Kiara's got 3 breasts, the massive belt, massive melon of a head, and telekinesis. She's a hunter. So she shows up trying to fuck things up, and of course she's pissed off at Jerry, and Jerry, being the spineless piece of crap that he is, when he had to break up with Kiara, he basically, instead of being a man and breaking up with her, he said that my kids, Summer and Morty, they don't like you. They don't like your race. They don't, and he basically threw his kids under the bus to break up with her so that he wouldn't look like the bad guy. Jerry is just a miserable
shithead
human being.
Yeah.
And yeah, he absolutely is. And as Rick has pointed out countless times, the only reason why people gravitate towards him is just because they feel sorry for him.
Exactly.
And they're afraid he's just going to go off and commit suicide. And it's like we're staying together because you're too much of a weak-willed man to live life on your own. And he gets no respect from his family, and nor should he. But this was there could be a whole episode devoted to this, but it looks great. It reads great. I was as we're going through and rewatching past episodes, there were a lot of things while reading this that they timed right with some of the episodes that we were bouncing around watching. So it really hits a little harder, depending on how fresh some of the episodes were seen, or how the characters are in your head. But no, this was like I said, without a doubt, if you enjoy the cartoon, definitely get this trade or the issues as soon as you can. You absolutely will not be disappointed. I'll say it. It put a massive smile on my face as I read it throughout. There you go. There's the seal of approval.
Now we have a problem.
What's that?
Because I got a Stephanie Phillips too. So how do we break this up?
Well, but you also, if you get to it, you also have a Rick and Morty book on your list.
I do, but I was going to save that.
We got an O-Rama.
Because you didn't read it yet. I was just going to save that.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I was going to wait for it to complete, but I mean, I'll read the issues.
Still has 2 more issues.
Yeah.
So, 2 or 3.
But yeah, that sounds. This was a blast.
That's one I don't have. Dave was missing one of the issues, so I didn't pick it up. Okay. So I'm just going to get the trade.
Yeah.
But they even stylized the crisis word to look like resemble the DC crisis,
which is one of the reasons. Which is why I checked out the first issue when Oni sent the preview, and I was like, all right, I'm going to wait then because I'll just wait for it to finish, and I'm so glad I did. You need to read it in one fell swoop. It's so good. I'll be thinking about this one for a while. I definitely, if they put out a deluxe hardcover like they're doing for some of the stories, I'm definitely getting it. But I'm absolutely getting the trade.
Yeah. Damn, sounds like an O'Closker's potential pick.
It very well could be.
Wow.
Shit.
Yeah, Oni does good stuff. I have to be completely transparent. I believe that the prices of their trade paperbacks are a little on the high side. But their hardcovers, do not do it. I will throw you out the window. I will do it. The prices of their hardcovers it's worth the investment. But the trade paperbacks are like flimsy and thin, and I think like $24.95. Right. Yeah. It's a lot of money for 4 issues.
Yeah, $25 for 4 issues, and it's a soft cover at that. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Jason, elucidate it. Let us hear something.
Oh, look at you with the big words.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Biggie words. Today was a good day.
Oh, nice.
Because I read something that, I mean, I know you two, well, Vince especially, just like everything he ever talks about. It's going on my 11 O'Clockers. But when I say it, I mean it.
I think I just got a mud hole stamped in my chest. Like, what are you doing?
Hey, man, all like I see it, keeping it real.
There's nothing real about
this. This book is going on the O'Clockers. It's on my ballot for sure. Not sure where yet, but it's going to be there. Long awaited, I might add. And speaking of publishers who hit right, let's give a shout out to First Second, because I don't think they don't put out a ton, but I feel like their hit rate is crazy high, at least for me. And this book is by First Second. It is A Guest in the House by Emily Carroll. Now, I know that name probably means something to some of you out there listening. She probably is best known for her work Through the Woods, which, talk about time flying, it came out way back in 2014, so nearly a decade ago. But that was a horror anthology graphic novel that she put out, won all kinds of awards. She's done a few things since, most notably a book called Speak, which, and When I Arrived at the Castle, which was a vampire story. But they were good. But I think that for me, Through the Woods was just like, her masterpiece to this point. But always on the lookout for her, and I knew this was her first big work in a long, long time, so I was excited for it. And it delivered. It arrived in my DCBS box this morning, and I read it. As soon as I saw it was here, I'm like, oh, I'm going to read this before the show, and I'm glad I did. For those who don't know, most, if not all, at least everything I've ever read of Emily's work is horror themed. So I don't know if she's done non-horror stuff, but again, all the things that I've read of her is horror. It's definitely her genre. This book is essentially a very excellently done, crazier, more supernatural take on Rebecca. You guys know Rebecca? Are you familiar with the novel Rebecca? Yes, no, maybe so.
Sunnybrook Farm? That's who you talk about? I don't know who you're talking about.
No, Rebecca. It's a novel from the 1930s by Daphne du Maurier. It's like one of those books that's constant, always been in print. It's a story essentially of a woman who marries above herself. She marries an older guy who's a widower, and he's crazy rich. And at first, the marriage is like out of a dream, but eventually like things go bad. You guys maybe know it from. I mean, it's a Hitchcock movie.
Yes. Yeah,
it actually won Best Picture back in the day, back in the 40s. So anyway, so it's very much like that, and I think even Emily acknowledged that was part of the inspiration for the book. So it's not like I'm making a leap there. But yeah, you're right, Vince. It's Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm. That's a different thing. That's because I was like, what are you talking about, Sunnybrook Farm? But there's a children's book called that, but that's separate.
Okay.
But anyway, so the story is of a woman. I'm guessing she's probably around 30. Her name is Abby. She is born and raised, or at least spent most of her life, in a small Canadian town, like a lakefront town. She works at a supermarket, and she's had a pretty mundane life. She doesn't think much of herself. She's kind of a plain-looking woman. Like, she's not in like great shape. She doesn't really wear makeup. Her hair's not really done, and she thinks this of herself. Like, she doesn't think she's all that special. But when we meet her, she is a newlywed. She's been married for about a year to her beau, who is relatively new to town himself. He is a widower, and he and his daughter are trying to make a new life in this town. And at some point, he got with Abby, and they get together and they get married. So she's trying to find her place. In a way, she's kind of like amazed that this is her life now, because he's a very successful dentist. They have plenty of money. She doesn't need to work anymore, but she still does work. And she's trying to fit into this new world of being the loving wife and a stepmom, most importantly, because her stepdaughter is, they don't ever say her age, but she's like 12, 13-ish. That's a tough age to jump into someone's life, particularly when they lost their mom, like her mom passed away. But she's making it work, like she's making it work. She's generally happy. She's like happy on a surface level. There's an inner narration as you're reading the book where she talks about how she doesn't really find her husband sexually attractive, but she doesn't really like sex anyway, so it's not a big deal. Like, she just has sex with him because he wants to, and so she's like, she's definitely kind of a malaise, like kind of an outlook on life that's not really passionate about any aspect of her life, but generally speaking, she views her life now as better than it was before she met her husband. And like, she's meeting new people. They they live in a house on a beautiful lake, and they're meeting the neighbors and the like, and they're having cocktail parties with her husband's business partners and their wives and the like, and she kind of goes through the motions and fakes it a little bit. Sometimes she's happy, sometimes she's not. But whatever, she's doing it and just dealing with it. But she starts just to notice that there's weird things happening, and like most notably, that her husband's her husband's wife, past wife, first wife. She was told by her husband that he passed away from cancer, and when they're having this dinner party with his partners. One of his partners, who's also a widower, like, comes up to her and is like, yeah, it's terrible that, how are you dealing with all this? It's got to be tough, especially with the daughter. And he mentions that, it's especially hard given how Claire left them. And she's like, what do you mean? Like, cancer stuff? And he's like, no, she didn't die of cancer. She killed herself. So Abby's like, wait, what? Like, he told me she died of cancer. And he's like, oh, no, she killed herself. So while this is all happening, like, I should say, like, visually, and like, the book is rendered for the most part in black and white and gray tones, kind of reflecting how unpassionate Abby is about her life. But she has these dreams, these vivid dreams, and if you look at the cover of the book, you can see this illustration. She has these dreams with these incredibly vibrant colors, where she pictures herself as a knight, like a knight in shining armor, and she's fighting dragons and she's rescuing damsels, and it's clear that this has been her, like, not imaginary friend, but like her alter ego, her escape for all of her life. Like, she pictures herself in these modes. She dreams that way. She has daydreams about it. Like, it's how she sees herself. And so Emily, she juxtaposes between these black and white pages of real world, and then these pages where we're in this sort of dream or imaginary state, this other world. And the visual juxtaposition is great. Again, she's not breaking any new ground there. Other artists have done that, but it's all about the execution. She does it really well. But through all this, it's a haunting. They're in this lake house, and she starts hearing things, and then she starts seeing things, and eventually she sees this beautiful woman who kind of looks like a princess, this ethereal, pretty princess, and she starts talking to her, and she comes to conclude that this princess is, in fact, her husband's dead ex-wife. And they become friends, and they start talking about the daughter and the connection there, and it's almost like they become besties in a way. But because it's a horror book, like, things start taking a turn. As she's befriending this ghost, she's noticing her husband now is getting snappier with her. Her husband's not being truthful with her. Every time her teenage daughter is playing by the dock of the lake or putting her feet in the water, her husband snaps and says, "Get away from the water. It's not safe." The husband himself, like, even though he bought a lake house to live in, he doesn't ever go in the lake. He doesn't like swimming. And so, like, these things are starting to, like, freak her out, like, trying to piece it together. And it just evolves into this idea where, once she's told that the ex-wife that the dead wife killed herself, she confronts the dead wife's ghost about this. And there is a 2-page splash where the dead wife reacts to that confrontation of, "Oh, you killed yourself." It's absolutely stunningly horrific, and she basically transforms from this beautiful princess to this completely overpowering, takes up the entire room, disgusting, just rage-filled creature, and basically yelling at her, being like, you fucking cunt, like, I didn't kill myself, you bitch, like, he killed, and, like, it completely transforms and makes her realize that, like, not everything is as it seems. And from there, it just devolves, where, like, she's trying to figure out who's lying. Did he kill his ex-wife? Like, why don't they want to go on the lake? What's up with that? And it goes places that I have to admit I didn't see coming. Like, I thought at that point I knew where this was going to go, and it ends very gruesomely, but it does not end in the way I expected it to end in terms of, like, the whodunits and what really was going on. It, like, has multiple gotcha moments, but really well executed, where you think something's about to happen, something else happens, and like, oh, okay, cool, that's a cool twist. Then a thing happens after that, you're like, oh shit, a twist on a twist, and then they leave you with a third. So it's like twist on twist on twist. And I know that may sound a little overwhelming and confusing, but I assure you, Emily executes it brilliantly. So you have full clarity about what's happening, how it's shifting, and, like, you're left just, at least I was, crestfallen. You're like, oh, like, this is fucked. Like, and it's such a beautifully executed book. It's visually speaking, I don't want to say it's not like Zoe's work in the sense that, like, the line is different, right? But it definitely reminded me of Zoe's work in the sense that this book also is just completely visually unapologetic and free. Like, Emily does and she handwrites, like, all the fonts, but she does completely different fonts and typefaces, and sometimes she uses panels, sometimes she uses no panels, sometimes she'll do splashes, sometimes she'll do just complete, like, white space on the page with maybe, like, one image, but, like, she really. One of the things that as I've gotten older, that I just fall in love with are these people who use the medium in its full way. They're not just beholden to this idea of what a comic needs to be, and so I would say spiritually, like, she belongs in the same conversation with Zoe, in that, like, the book looks different and feels different page by page, chapter by chapter, and those are definitely the books that get me the most turned on these days. So it's great, if you like horror stories, if you like the idea of, like, hauntings or how apparitions can really fuck with your brain and your perception of reality. Like, this book is an absolute grand slam. Like I said, it's definitely going on the Oak Oscars. It's great. I would not be at least to this point. I have to look at my reading list, but to this point, it's definitely in the running, if not the favorite for my favorite book of the year. Now, I say that realizing that we've had 8 months, and there may be something that came out this year that I'm forgetting right now that I'll be like, oh no, I love that more. But this is an absolute home run, and so for those who are on the fence, definitely get it. Emily's back in full force.
Nice. I like the color pages a lot.
Yes.
And it's right there, right on Cheap Graphic Novels homepage.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Right there on the front. How about that?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's no Death of the Venomverse, but
what is?
But it's very good though. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I don't know if this is going to be on my 11 o'clockers, but I sure had a good time with this. It's another Stephanie Phillips book. Look at that. Dab brought one, I bring one. Yeah. Yeah. It's a what if book from Marvel. I don't know why they're doing this, but
me neither.
No, it's between the it's Chris. Wait, Chris. In between the if and the question mark, there's an ellipsis. What is that about? I don't remember there ever being an ellipsis between the if and the question. Forever?
I don't know about forever, like from the very first volume with those few issues, but yes, they're because I've written it that way because that's how it is.
It's so silly. Yeah. Okay. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention. I was too excited.
Yeah, and like the TV show was that way too, like the Marvel. Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Well, this is What If Dark Venom number 1. Yeah. And the reason why I jumped into this because the focus, the star, is Ben Grimm.
Nice.
Yes. Written by Stephanie Phillips, illustrated by Jethro Moralez, color art by Israel Silva. It takes place post-Secret Wars. So Ben has just come home from off-planet being Rocky Grimm Space Ranger, and he's feeling sorry for himself. And it doesn't help very much that Reed is insensitive. Reed is insensitive. When did you ever see that? He's insensitive to Ben's feelings on the anniversary of the accident. I guess in this scenario, they meet up every year and they don't celebrate, but they just commemorate the not horrible, but the events that led them to become the Fantastic Four. Most of which is on Reed. Right? He wouldn't have become an orange-skinned monster if it wasn't for Reed. So, and other factors. But Ben's wallowing in self-pity, and he comes into the Baxter Building to meet up with Reed, and Reed's, of course, Reed, and leaves the room. And so Ben's alone with the symbiote, in the glass tube. And Ben's tapping on the glass, and he's focusing on the symbiote. And the symbiote kind of uses Ben's self-pity as an opportunity to get itself out of the glass prison. So Ben frees the creature and bonds with it. Cool enough, I think. A Ben Grimm Venomized thing, that's cool. But something happens with the bonding of the symbiote and Ben, something that Reed couldn't even pull off. He'd been trying forever, never pulled it off. When the symbiote takes a back seat, Ben returns to human form. And he's like, whoa, Stretcho, you tried to do this. You couldn't do it. This thingamajig gets on me in 10 minutes, and look at me, I'm Ben again, right? So Reed's like, wait a minute. This is not safe. You can't be doing this. You got to put that thing back in the tube if you can, because there's danger involved in this thing. And Ben does what he's done 1,000 times before, and he stomps out, leaves the Baxter Building. He's like, whoa, this is the strange part. Again, another book featuring the lizard. The lizard pops up. Why? Who knows? Maybe it was just maybe the character's Phillips' favorite. Who knows? But anyway, the lizard kind of gets into Ben's brain, right? And he lays it on pretty thick. He's like, that thing that you got on you, you know what? That could very well cure me of my problem and other people like us that are saddled with this thing that is not them and we don't know how to get rid of it. This creature that you got bonded to you could solve it. And Ben's like, I don't know. And the lizard is all, well, you're a hero, aren't you? You claim to be a hero. Let's share the cure. And so Ben, not one of his brightest decisions, he allows himself to step into the lizard / Kurt Connors thingamajig doohickey. And the lizard is not about sharing. He bonds with he extracts the symbiote from Ben and bonds with it and goes ape shit. just makes a beeline back to the Baxter building. And I'm not going to tell you what happens next because it's far too traumatic for me to go into detail about. No, not going to. But it's very creative, but I'm not going to get into it. And Ben kind of steps in and he tries to correct a very costly mistake on his part. I'm going to downplay it, just so some of the magic of this issue you can experience it yourself. But Ben pops the lizard's head like a grape. Mm. Yeah, just completely. Blip, you're dead. Sorry, Kurt, but you fucked me over, and now you're dead. It's one of those things where it's one of the reasons I love comics is because it's silly and ridiculous, and you get to see Ben in a symbiote alien. When did you ever see that? I can't tell you when I've seen that, but it's kind of cool. I would love to see a Marvel Legends of Ben in the symbiote costume. It's neat. And not the lizard so much, but yeah. And this issue goes there. It gets really dark in some spots. Like, if you're a Fantastic Four fan, this one, it's kind of like Last Ronin, right? We were feeling some kind of way about the conclusion to Last Ronin, or the various sayonaras in Last Ronin. Well, this single issue is kind of like that. You're going to have to say goodbye to people that if you're a Fantastic Four fan, that you love a whole lot. And it was rough. There were parts that were really rough. Yeah. But I loved it a whole lot. And I think you do well to read it. What's happening? I'm getting all messages in here. What's going on?
Yeah, the ellipses started in the 1989 volume.
Oh, nice. So the original series does not.
The original does not. Yeah.
Okay. I think it's clunky. I understand that they're saying "what if," and then there's more to the sentence, and
right.
So you want to put that ellipsis in. But I think just "what if?" would be more to the point than. I mean, it's just semantics. It's stupidity.
But even the original didn't have the question.
No, it's just "what if."
It had "what if" and then the title or whatever the story is.
But that's a complete sentence. That's a complete sentence, right?
Right.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you.
It's what?
I said I tend to agree with you.
Right. It just reads better when it's like, what if the Hulk, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I mean, the OG, the original volume, the original series, it's almost like, I mean, obviously it was a numbered series, but they could have all been like one-shots just based on that title, whereas the ellipses is just like, oh, that's the title of the book, and every issue. It's weird. It's obviously a choice, but yeah, I mean, I'm good either way. I don't really, if I'm thinking about an issue, I don't pause when I say what if is. The story is telling, but whatever.
It's a lot of fun. Just keep going with the fun.
It's weird. I know that I haven't checked out any of the What If Darks from Marvel, and that's probably because I'm still put off by the dark versions of the multiverse stories that DC had for their alternate reality tales for all their events, like the Dark War of the Gods, or the Dark the Crisis, or the Dark Death of Superman. And they were weird because I didn't think it made sense for DC to tell to make a big deal about dark versions of those stories. But here, Marvel tends to. I like some of the titles I've seen for the What If Dark from Marvel. So you talking about it has me wanting to at least check out what's out there.
They're fun. There's more than one cover to this thing. Nick Bradshaw. Yeah, Nick Bradshaw did a variant cover that combines this Man, This Monster cover with the I don't know what issue it is, maybe 2. The one with Spider-Man in the glass doohickey, remember? And so it's a very well done cover because this monster fits if you have a symbiote hanging off you. And Bradshaw's Susie's pretty damn good. Like it a lot. Like it a lot. Yeah. But I think there's like 3 covers for this issue. But whatever you choose, I think you're gonna have a good time with it because it's Ben. Who doesn't know Ben Grimm? We all know Ben Grimm, right? We should. I mean, if you've read comics for decades, you got to know Ben Grimm.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's one of the most real characters in the Marvel Universe, I think, next to Peter Parker. For me, anyway.
Yes.
Lots of fun.
Yeah, he's a G. He's like he's like the first like street level just dude.
Well, literally, the first.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like he's like Yancey Street. He's just a regular Joe. Like
smart, but doesn't like to let on because Reed's smart too, but
married well above himself.
For real, yeah. Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
He is. Yeah, he's a member of the tribe. That's true.
Well, so is Jacob Kurtzman, who is the alter ego of the Thing. Yeah, really cool issue. But I don't know how Jason has resisted talking about these X books.
Well, why don't you tell me? So, a little background. We all ended up reading all of the. It looks like we all read all of the first issues that are coming out post the Hellfire Gala.
Yes.
Michigas. And that surprises me that you guys are on this, but that makes me. I'm happy that y'all read them. And Vince pinged us and said, I really liked. He's like, I'm surprised, or you'd be surprised to hear that I really liked them all, save for one of them.
Yeah, I thought one was.
And I said, well, stop right there. I said, let's save it for the show. You can tell us which one you didn't like, and then the others we can talk about why you did like them.
Well, why don't you pick one?
Oh, that I think you didn't like?
Yes. Let me see let me see how well you know me.
All right. Well, let's just make sure that we're all on the same page, because actually, it doesn't look like you read Alpha Flight. So
yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not on the list. Okay. So we've got Children of the Vault #1, Alpha Flight #1, Dark X-Men #1. You don't have it on your list, but did you read Uncanny Avengers #1?
No.
Okay.
I didn't, that's one I didn't read. Yeah.
Okay. And then are you counting Immortal X-Men #14?
I did read Immortal X-Men, yeah.
No, you read it, but you count it, so that's part of this conversation, though?
Sure.
Okay. So we've got all right, so you didn't read Uncanny Avengers. Okay. So you've got Children of the Vault, Immortal X-Men, Dark X-Men, and Alpha Flight. Yep. Which one did you dislike?
This is a no-brainer, my dude.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I know one you did like, because we all talked about that already. I don't know.
I'll just tell you.
Well, I'm going to go with Dark X-Men.
Oh no, I love Dark X-Men.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I don't know which one you didn't like.
I had zero entertainment value from Alpha Flight #1.
I knew it.
Oh, because it's on your list. Okay, I see. Yeah. Gotcha.
It was a trudge and painful.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't think that at all, but okay.
Interesting. There we go. This is why it's interesting. Debate. Well, why don't we start there? I would let me hold on. I don't know if you've opened that, but it's. Well, I know it's. I'm trying to remember. It's written by Ed Brisson, and
art by Godlewski.
That's right, Scott Godlewski. Okay, there you go. First of, I believe, is 6-issue miniseries, right?
Either 5 or 6, but yeah.
Well, so this is interesting because I love Alpha Flight, and I always hope and pray that when they do it every few year Alpha Flight miniseries, that it will be well executed enough that it goes on for a regular series and we get 12 to 24 issues. That never happens. It definitely is a book I feel like is a snapshot in time. Those of us that were reading the X books back when Byrne launched it, loved it. And we remember it fondly, and no one subsequent to us in Comic Generation seems to ever care about this team in any way, shape, or form. They have spent the majority of the last bunch of years as basically Carroll Danvers lackeys up in space. Basically, she's been in charge of Alpha Flight for some reason, and Alpha Flight's been hanging out in a space satellite, kind of like the Watchtower in the Justice League, and they have been doing her bidding periodically, mainly seen in her own book. So this is them back at Department H, but it's not your mom and dad's Department H. It's like a little bit Trumpy Department H kind of thing, right? Like, you got this new head of Department H, and she's saying, "Oh, we can't live in fear. These mutants are a danger to society, and they're taking what they were doing in the U.S. and moving up here, and we can't have it, can't have that." And so I've got a team here that's going to be our first line of defense, and it is part of Alpha Flight. It is not the entire team. It is Vindicator, Snowbird, Shaman, and Puck. But it ain't the rest of the team. And they're basically to enforce an anti-mutant doctrine. Mutants have been banned from Canada. And there's a lot of talking in the book, a lot of political posturing. I will say I loved Box back in the day. It was one of my favorite parts of Alpha Flight. So when they say, "Hey, we got Box Jr., the son, he's taking over the program," I thought, "Oh, that's cool," because we haven't seen Box in a minute. Like I can't remember the last time we saw Box in any way. But these Box robots are Box Sentinels, and it's like, damn, we got a lot of Sentinels running around because we got the Tony Stark Sentinels flying around the U.S. But and they basically end up going up against the other half of Alpha Flight, who are fighting to protect their mutant brothers and sisters. You got Aurora and North Star and Nemesis, which is a bit of a deep cut. And who am I forgetting? There was one other, right?
Dakin.
Oh,
Fang.
right. Fang. Now known as
Sorry, Fang.
Yeah. Now known as Fang. Yes, Dakin. And it's like, Alpha Flight versus Alpha Flight. But, and I guess some mild spoilers, like, all is not what it seems. It's the one side is not really playing for that side. I'll leave it at that. But they're all united in their effort. So you hated this one. That's interesting. I mean, I will say it like this. I didn't hate it at all. It's pretty much like what I expected it to be, honestly. I think Godlewski's art is okay. I don't think it's like the greatest Alpha Flight art I've ever seen. I thought it was like, but it wasn't. It didn't deter me. There were a few other of these X books where the art deterred me. But I didn't come away thinking like, man, like I've been missing this. I'm like, okay, yeah. Alpha Flight story, it'll be done in 6 issues. It's likely, given the setup that they have here, it's not going to go anywhere beyond that. So it is what it is. So, but I have you have a soft spot for you with the symbiotes. I mean, I have a big soft spot for Alpha Flight.
I have a very soft spot for Alpha Flight, and I think Byrne's vision set a bar very high. I love that series. Even when Byrne left, it was still the same, but not the same. And at the risk of number one, being a hypocrite, number two, turning into you from last episode. The whole legacy talk that we had, where something years and or decades later, we hold it up to the original light. Does it cast a long enough shadow? I don't think this did. I just I was.
Oh yeah, and I don't disagree with that at all. But the problem I have with that statement is, and again, I don't want to turn this into a downer, but I think that of most, and I think you do too, actually. I think that of most superhero comics, like
sure, no, I'm with you on that.
Most superhero comics are a pale echo of the things that we loved about them.
Yes, sir.
Not because they're worse, but because we have read hundreds of them, and so like it literally is an echo of itself. Again, I'm not suggesting like every superhero comic made today sucks compared to those that came out 30 years ago. I'm just recognizing that my ability to connect with them is much harder because I have seen all of these drum beats 1,000 times, and that's it's a me thing, or it's anyone that gets older and you just continue. Again, we don't have to relitigate this, but I generally agree with you. Like I didn't read this and think, oh man, Byrne's got to be like secretly reading this in his robot room somewhere, being like, hell yeah, no, this is this is like derivative stuff using the same characters. I'm not going to argue that. Like, yeah,
right.
I mean,
and it's completely unfair to hold this to the greatness, or compare this to the greatness of the original series. It's not fair at all. It's not the original series. It's being produced, 40 years after the original series?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's an unrealistic expectation for me to have a contemporary book capture the magic of a vintage one. And I'll sign that check. I realize it's all on me, but we've seen a lot of bad takes on Alpha Flight over the years.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And it's just like
the Clayton Henry one where
yeah.
I mean, the art looked great, but like the all new team and like they got the old man and the Aborigine. It was bad.
It's comics, right? It's not that hard to get the original team together. You find a way. Get Sasquatch back. Like, let's manipulate the comic book tropes in a way that facilitates bringing the entire original team back. And who knows, maybe that's going to happen. But you got one chance to hook me on a new series. And if the first issue doesn't do it, like Fantastic Four, Slott's Fantastic Four, if you're not going to ring that bell with the first issue, I'm not sticking around to see whether or not you manage to eventually do
particularly with the miniseries, right? I mean, it's...
Yeah. But no, it just felt hollow to me. And, I like Godlewski's art, but a lot of the characters, especially Aurora and Northstar, they didn't look like I would expect them to look. They were more
not in love with that all black outfit.
Yeah, just a little too stylized, a little too angular, right? The only one that
I don't disagree.
The only one that really fit the bill was Vindicator. It's kind of hard to screw up that costume. And I'm not saying Godlewski screwed up anything. It's just that there's a recognition that Alpha Flight that has to be met for me. And
sure,
this wasn't it. It just, again, it shouldn't be. Because I'm an old fart, and most of the people reading these books are creeping up on their 30s. Let's, be honest. So I'm out of the bracket. I think we all are out of this bracket.
Oh, yeah.
More or less.
Yeah.
I don't hate the book. It's just like, all right, you tried. Good luck with it. I hope it catches on, but not for me.
Well, it sounds like, Dap, like you liked it better, it sounds like, than Vince. Like, basically.
I did like it better than Vince. My time with Alpha Flight pretty much, it didn't end when Byrne left. It may have ended before Mantlo left, but that's obviously just like you guys, that's what I'm going to compare any other Alpha Flight iteration to. Those first few issues getting the band together until Heather goes and kills her husband. These are all just, this is a fantastic.
She didn't mean to do it.
She just I love it. I could go back and revisit those first 12 or so issues anytime. And would I have checked this out if it didn't tie into the whole Fall of X? I don't know. I probably wouldn't, but I am glad I did. You're absolutely right about Vindicator's costume. That is still one of my all-time favorite superhero outfits to this day.
A little bit of a takeoff on
simplicity of it. Right? Yeah, but Major Maple Leaf. What else are you going to do? That's their symbol.
Yeah.
I thought, obviously there's going to be some things were a little subtle in this issue. I'm not sure. I don't know if they set it up, obviously, whatever Fox Jr. is going to do, or whatever control he's going to have over these, that's going to fail. And everything is set up, and some of it may be predictable, and I may still want to see how it plays out. But seeing our heroes, again, working for the government like they always have, but their agenda is a little different because, no muties up north, and I thought it was going one way, and I was the little bit of a twist at the end. I was happy to see that. Because I'm all about that whole, whether or not maybe whose side are you on, the whole intrigue, and I thought that that kind of, I'm not saying that saved it for me, but that it perked me up a bit when I got to the end of the issue. And I really liked Scott's work when he was drawing Superman a couple years ago. I like his work, period. It was neat seeing some of the characters again, especially Nemesis, like you said, it was a deep cut and it shows up, got the little sword going. I did dig it. It wasn't the best Fall of X book I read today, but it was I did like it. I liked it. I liked it more than Vince, but I like it. I will be back for the second issue.
Wow.
Nice. Yeah, me too.
Wow.
Now that scene, this begs the question. Well, first of all, let me get Vince. You didn't read Uncanny Avengers. Did you read it?
I started it. I didn't get to finish it before we got here.
You don't have to bother. Yeah.
Okay. I did. I did
I
flip
thought
through
it was bad.
But yeah.
I mean, I thought it was bad. And again, I don't want to he's a very capable artist, but Javier Carron just ain't it for me on this. It sounds nothing bothers me more in superhero comics than when certain panels and pages are rendered really well. Yes. And then other things, especially at the corners of are rendered really terribly and way off model or unfinished, and you're bro, I'd rather you give me less refined art but consistent throughout the whole panel that, because that doesn't my eye doesn't get pulled to it, right? My eye gets pulled to the wonky drawings in this. I'm oh, that's a oh, you drew Psylocke like she's 4 pounds. Okay. Oh, that face looks like it was smushed into in a trash compactor. But which is a shame because most of the page is nicely done. But I'm oh, you lost your way there. It's when you get a back tattoo and then they mess up the dragon head, right? It's oh, you could the scales you can mess up, but you don't mess up the head. Everyone sees the head. Yeah, so it was a mess. I think narratively, it's written by Jerry Duggan, but it's now keep in mind, you guys know I went on the rant about the Hellfire guy. I am not about this post, this new status quo. I am not about it. So
right. I was thinking about that.
Yeah, these books have a huge thing going against them before I open the pages. Right. So
I think my enjoyment of these books was not attached to the Hellfire Gala. I could not care less what happened in that issue. I'm with you. I don't think it was pulled off with any kind of creativity or aplomb. I just think it was a means to an end. So that's how I'm looking at it. I'm taking the fall of the X-Men as okay. It's done. It's finished. Charlie screwed up. A lot of the X-Men are dispersed. Some of them are still on the planet. A lot of them. And now this is a new status quo where the racism and the xenophobia is still, or genophobia is back, and the X-Men are on the run from Orcus. Okay, that's all you need to know. Whatever happened in the Hellfire Gala, whatever, it's done. It's finished. I don't care. So in that light, I thought these books were really good. New status quo, here's where we're going with it. I'm not validating what they did. Right. They did it. But it's done. Yeah. Right. So I thought these books were making lemonade out of lemons.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Look at you liking Gambit. I always knew you liked
No,
Gambit.
I didn't like no. He's just an accessory. He's just Can I talk about that?
Please.
Okay. This is Dark X-Men #1, written by Steve Foxe, illustrated by Jonas Scharf and Nelson Daniel, with color art by Frankie Martin. Front and center in this book, this week, we not only had a book featuring Cable, the greatest mutant of all time, but
that was the best book at this point by far.
Yes, I agree. We have a book featuring Cable. We also have a book featuring his mom, Madeline Pryor.
That's facts.
Yes. and there's the Limbo Embassy is besieged.
And Nightcrawler's dad, by the way.
Yes, as I was going to say, the legacy aspect of Dark X-Men is pretty strong, right? But what does it say? So Alex Summers, we know, is Scott's brother. Alex is Havoc, and he is ridiculously smitten with Madeline Pryor.
Yeah.
How do you go to family outings and say, how does Scott look at his brother when he is totally smitten with a woman that is in all respects, save, the consciousness, his squeeze? She is Jean Grey for all intents and purposes. I mean, not the whole limbo thing and the Demon Queen and all that stuff, but physically, genetically, to the eye, she is Jean Grey. So how do you say, like, dude, you're essentially banging my woman?
But it's even more the direct than that. I mean, Scott himself was banging this.
Oh, right. Well, yeah. Well, that's where Campbell comes from.
It is a little.
It's weird.
It's weird, and I mean, and I say this as someone who did spend time with his brother's ex-girlfriend, so it can be.
You scoundrel!
That's kind of cool, though. That's kind of but yeah, I think that's really neat. But it's like Scott Summers, like, do you want to his brother? Do you want to watch me pee? Like, how much more can you know about my sex life? Like, when my wife is nude, you know what my wife looks like when she's naked. Yeah. Like, it's just weird. It's very strange.
You know, my wife tastes. It's crazy. Do you have?
If you hear Madeline Pryor fart, that's how Jean Grey farts. Like, it's just strange.
I granted the character. This one thing about this issue really kind of it didn't sour me. I went, oh.
I know exactly what it is.
What is it?
They left Angel to die.
No.
Oh.
And of course they didn't. He's not going to die.
No, but I'm just saying they just fucking left him
behind. But I think they left him behind because Madeline has a plan, and he's going to be like their.
Well, and he does have a healing factor. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they, like they do with all the X books, they have the roster, they have the roll call, they have the rundown of all the characters that are the heroes on the team, and at number 10. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool, even though he's on the cover. But like, they tried to make a big deal about it being so. They wanted to make a reveal about it when he was in the armored truck when the mutants came to save.
Oh, right. Because you're like, dude, he's in the cover. We know.
Oh, right. That hit me right in the heart.
I'd love to see him, but I'm like, you kind of spoiled the surprise.
Well, no, it was like Alien 3 all over again. He gets out of the truck and you're talking about Albert, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so Albert's he gets Archangel, he guts him, and then he gets fucking Havoc in the throat. But he's the thing that got me was they're just like, yeah, we had to scrap LCD because she was too feral to be reprogrammed. And I'm like, holy shit, it's Newt. It's Newt. It's like,
and he comes out swinging. He's like he's stuttering and sputtering, talking about looking for LCD. I'm all about Albert. I love to see him. Mm-hmm. I would have loved to have been more surprised by the reveal in the truck than seeing him in the roll call at the start of the book, because I know he's in it. And yeah, I know he's on the cover also. If I didn't get the variant, that's one thing. But I would have rather have been surprised as far as the story goes. Instead of they could have done the roll call or the credits at the end of the book. But whatever. But that's
right. Some of the things that really got me excited for this series. The Mercy Crown. I think that's brilliant.
That's cool, yeah.
That Madeline has a dark cerebro. And it's on a fucking spinal column. That is great.
Oh. The first, is it the first? The first double page spread. I absolutely love the way Scharf laid this out, because you have Alex following Madeline, and she's doing her spiel about, how this is a sanctuary and everybody's safe here, and they're walking down the stairs, and as your eyes follow the stairs, you end up down at the lower panels. You're not, otherwise you would, somebody else might just, as they're walking down the stairs, they could have read the panel in the lower right and then read right to left incorrectly, but I thought that the panel layout, the double page spread, I thought that the way your eyes follow the story and the characters walking down the stairs, I love that page. I think it's the way that's understanding comics right there.
Yeah, but you could thank Will Eisner for that. He instigated it, but let's be honest, Frank Miller perfected it. Death of Elektra, or Elektra Lives Again, come on with that fucking stairway. That's Frank Miller right there on that page you're looking at. I don't care. It's true.
It's Frank Miller.
But, I mean, some of the highlights, the Mercy Crown Emplate being in the group, shut up. I don't know how you guys feel about Emplate, but I love Emplate.
Cool.
Yeah. And, okay, I guess you don't.
I don't know that I care one way or the other, but Emplate, like, yeah, it's cool. I mean, yeah.
I like the fact that Orcus is now using Stark Sentinels. That's really cool. We're going to see how that's going to play out now that Stark is going to be married to Emma. I don't know what's going on there, but that's weird. I'm not a huge fan of Maggot, but it's kind of, I don't know who is, but kind of neat. Kind of neat that they're pulling Maggot into this. I just think Belasco being used as a table was very cool. Like, let's just completely humiliate the one-time Lord of Limbo, and he's now a table. And of course Albert was great. I liked it that it was dark, and then in the back pages leading up to these events, not so much. Like, She-Hulk makes an appearance, and Azazel, who, as Jason said, is Nightcrawler's pop. I just think this book is great. The art was phenomenal. Both stories, the art was really good. Both different, right? Yeah. The Fenris twins, when they're just like, no. That was great. That was really great. And Kangaroo was fun, but they're dragging Ben Reilly into it. Like, I don't know. I don't know what happened between those two. I wasn't reading any of the Spider books, obviously, but Ben Reilly is now attached to the Chasm. That's so weird. It sounds dirty, doesn't it? He's involved with Madeline Pry's group now. It's just weird. Sim, whichever you want to say it. It was in this. That's really cool. What was in the bowls on the table on Friday? I don't know, but I wouldn't eat any of it. I thought this really worked really well. And I guess the thrust of this book is Alex Summers is a doormat and is hopelessly infatuated with Madeline Pryor.
Yeah, he's a cuck.
She knows that, and she's manipulating that fact. Like she may, I don't know if she really loves him or not, but she's capitalizing on his feelings for her, making him do things that I don't think Alex would normally do. So we're going to see where it ends up. But Limbo, come on. If you're setting your series in Limbo, or at least part of the series is set in Limbo, I'm going to read it. I love Limbo. And you know what's going to happen. Eventually, Ileana's going to challenge Madeline for the throne again. It's inevitable, right?
Possibly.
That's how things work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I thought this was great.
I love that I thought it was a clever touch to make Limbo like where they're all hanging out. The safe house we keep referring to is the embassy, the Limbo embassy.
Yeah.
It's been granted basically a diplomatic asylum, which I think is pretty neat. Like the idea that other dimensions are in the Marvel universe credited as like diplomatic immunity, where they can have asylum. Like that's an interesting idea. Makes sense.
But it raises the question: if you have a group of people that are granted diplomatic immunity and they're mutants, how's that going to play out in this status quo?
Well, I should say I don't know if they have diplomatic immunity, but they have they're granted, they have asylum because they recognize Limbo. Like, so all these mutants, as long as they stay inside of the building, they're safe.
Well, you could do a lot of things from inside Limbo. It's like a TARDIS, right? It's way bigger on the inside than it is. So no, I think it's neat. The paradigm's cool. Again, not commenting on how we got here, but I think it's a good use of whatever narrative restrictions they've put on the X universe now. I think it's really good. But the book that I thought was a complete and utter home run, right from the cover on in, is Children of the Vault, #1.
Yes.
Yeah. Written
Far
by...
and away the best of the bunch, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, because it features the Marvel's greatest mutant. Written...
Domino's not in this, actually.
No, but Cable is.
Oh, right.
Written by Deniz Camp, illustrated by Luca Maresca, with color art by Carlos Lopez. Again, this is the fallout from the Hellfire Gala. The vault has crumbled, right? And the prisoners have been released. They have been living under a manufactured reality, an illusion.
Yeah,
manufactured.
There was a great part of probably was like a year, maybe a year and a half ago that that story was unfolded. Forge basically created this whole paradigm to get them to think that they won and took over the world. It was really clever, I thought at the time.
I'm going to be guessing that it's not going to go well for Forge.
Yeah,
because they realize, well, Serafina 187, and the number after the name is indicative of how many versions of this character preceded them. So it's like the Doomsday thing, forced evolution. So Serafina taps into all Earth's machines, and she's like, "Oh damn, mutants are scattered. We've been living a lie, buddies. All the success we thought we had in that there is never happened. So that hard-won victory, it's all make-believe. We've been imprisoned in a dream, and they're not happy, at all. So front and center in this book is Serafina, Capitan, Luz, Pharaoh, Prisa, and Atomo.
Yep.
And it continues the theme. Cable is imprisoned in an Orcus Black Brain psychic interrogation site. And Cable's Cable. He knows, this too shall pass. He's the George Harrison of the X-Men, right?
Yeah.
And
there's Josh Brolin Cable too, for the record.
That was funny.
Yes,
that was very funny.
Panel.
So he's in this psychic interrogation site outside of Washington D.C. They took his ship, they took his arm, and they're torturing him for his secrets, particularly those about the future. Now, if you ever had an inside track to the future would be a very, very beneficial thing. So Orcus wants in. They want to know. And he knows, he does his little calculations, his Zen machinations, and he knows, I'm going to get out of here in 3 days. Roughly 3 days, I'll be out of here. But somebody comes and beats him to the punch. Unfortunately, it's Bishop.
Wow. It's hurtful.
Not a fan of Lucas Bishop. He's been a thorn in Cable's side for a long time. That's the whole chewy center of this book, that Cable and Bishop are forced to work together, even though they greatly dislike each other. And if you rip a page from Bishop's war journal, you realize that he's been real busy raiding and destroying sites, Orcus sites that experiment on mutants, that create and maintain sentinels, or indoctrinating children in the war against mutant kind. Bishop's trying to bring him down, rightly so. And he has a list of close to 2,000 Orcus installations, and he means to burn them all down. Respect, right? So the Children of the Vault, working hard, they rebrand themselves the Children of Tomorrow. And they take on this pseudo-benevolent guise that they're going to usher humanity into the future. And they give humanity technology that can heal the sick or feed the hungry, or create living spaces for those that don't have any. They're
basically stepping into the void of what the X-Men were doing all these last few years.
Yeah. They're tamping down on natural disasters. They're just being on the surface the saviors, everybody's heroes, and because of that, they earn the public's admiration and trust. Let's be honest. But Cable and Bishop, they're not buying it. They're like, nah, this is not what it seems. But I got a safe house. Of course, Cable has a safe house. He's greatest mutant. And he goes into the safe house. He gets all patched up, gets a new arm, and he notices something's off about Bishop's mind. He's like, wait a minute. You got something working on you, my man. So he pulls up his forearm. Beep, boop, bop, boop, beep, beep. He brings up Nurse Hetty. Nurse Hetty.
I know.
A Betty Boop-styled AI that displays on his forearm.
Far Cry.
And, the conclusion is, scans Bishop. Bishop has been afflicted by an idea virus. And it's not unique to Bishop. Let's just say it's been spreading among the populace. There's humans that are like, become the future, and they're all about children of tomorrow, and they're that's the peanut gallery for this team, and praising them and gathering, and they, to a man and a woman, all have the idea virus. So what's up? Something nefarious has been implanted in the brains of humanity. And I think it was a great start, an exceptional, yeah.
Yep.
I want to see how the Bishop Cable thing pans out, because they're not going fishing on Saturday together. They have too much rocky roads in the past, and Cable being Cable, he would be the first one to try and make the best of the situation, but that's not Bishop. Bishop pulls out that big ass 90s gun first, and then asks questions later. I thought this was wonderful. The cover's smoking. I think the cover is absolutely beautiful cover.
Nice to see the kid in the Marvel book. Refresh my memory, is the beef between Cable and Bishop, did that only start when Cable brought Hope to the future, or were they fighting even before that series?
That's a really good question. I mean,
because obviously I know Bishop wanted this. I
just view. I mean, maybe my memory's spotty these days, but I mean, my view was they have beef because Bishop hunted them all across the.
Yeah, but
okay.
the Cable Hope thing is like aughts. So they had to have
Matt Fraction, right?
Yeah, they had to have
Guggenheim, right.
There has to be incidents before that, because Bishop was out for fucking. He was a time cop with the SE. So he hunted Bishop Cable before that. Had to.
Xavier's temporal enforcers.
There's a kid in this book with a Nimrod doll. Like, that is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, love it.
I think the team is not the team, but all of the children of the vault are really cool looking.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though
she has to wear a dress. She's
even
completely naked when she emerges, and it's a robot body, but she got to wear the dress.
Well, right. Well, she's wearing. I mean, because she's appealing to the.
Oh, absolutely. No, I completely get it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But the fact that Perro, which is Spanish for dog,
thanks.
Just tell. Hey, maybe some people don't speak it. He's on the cover, but he appears fleetingly in the beginning of the issue. And I'm like, I want to see more Perro. I think he's cool looking. I like the character. It reminds me a little bit of Ranzarox, a little bit. Just a little bit.
Okay.
Like, it could take place. He could exist in that universe.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
This issue was great.
It was.
But how could it not be? How could it not be with Cable front and center?
Word up. Yeah, Maresca. Yeah, Maresca's that dude.
I think we've mentioned Deniz Camp a lot recently. Like, I can't pinpoint exactly the books on which he's worked, but I remember because when I saw the name, I'm like, oh, this guy's good, right? Because I remember talking about his work, but I memory is fleeting. I can't remember what it was, but it had to be an X book, right? Yeah, you're on mute again. All right. Bringing up the rear, I think, was Immortal. It wasn't bad.
Damn straight, dog.
No, it wasn't bad. I don't think it was a whiff. But the meat of Immortal for me was seeing duplicitous Sebastian Shaw thinking he's going to come out of the whole thing smelling like roses and with stacks of fat cash, and the Kingpin got the economic windfall from Krakoa. That was pretty cool that the Kingpin got it.
He's married into the family, you know?
Right. But other than that, I thought it was a fun issue. But if I had to rank it with the other ones from this Fall of the Mutants, I would definitely put it at the bottom, but it's not a bad showing, right? When the other two were except for Alpha Flight. So I would put it above Alpha Flight, definitely. And but below Children of the Vault and Dark X-Men.
I would put it above Uncanny Avengers, but below everything else by a pretty big margin.
You liked Immortal less than Alpha Flight?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Wow. For sure. Well, what about it turned you off?
I mean, first of all, it's the most direct follow-up to the Hellfire Gala, right? Like, it's the aftermath, basically. We're dealing with the aftermath.
Right.
I thought that the Shaw as greedy industrialist was a little too, like, on the nose. Like, it just felt like, okay, I get it. Like, because, like, it just belies the way that Shaw's been, like, the neat thing about Shaw, especially during the Hickman, is, like, you know who he is, but he's not some, like, I felt like in this book he was portrayed as an idiot, and he got played really easily, and that's not Sebastian Shaw. Like, Sebastian Shaw is a cold, calculated, like, he wins. Like, that's what he does. That's why he's, worth hundreds of billions of dollars, because he wins. He sees the chessboard. So, like, I thought that was kind of whack. I had absolutely, like, just no time for the, like, skinny, emaciated, bearded Xavier, like, in his feelings. Like, okay, all right, Charles, cool. Like, no, zero time for that. Like, it just holds no appeal to me in any way, visually, like, aesthetically, thematically. So, and, even though I introduced myself as Exodus, like, Exodus has always been kind of like the weirdest Omega level mutant, I think, because he really only is effectual as someone who is paying service to someone he's worshiping. And that's a weird dynamic if you're not a person of faith. And so I don't know, man, like I guess a part of it was that the characters that this focused on are characters I generally find annoying. And then the one that they made the most fun of, I think, is the one I find the most appealing, because I think generally, like, he wins. And so just the whole thing kind of felt off to me. It felt and really surprised, too, because Kieron Gillen, I think, has been my favorite non-Hickman writer during this whole X run. So I was very surprised by how much I didn't like this. And I'm going to blame the fact that Kieron has to try and make, wine out of water here, because he's inherited the Hellfire Gala.
I'm loving the biblical references from you. I don't know if that's intentional, but come on, you're leading the stragglers through the desert, and your name is Exodus. Why don't they just they just call him Moses, right?
Well, I mean, again, though, but core to Exodus's character is that he needs to have a savior. Like, that is his. Magneto was his first, right? Then he had Apocalypse. Then he for all of the Hickman run, it's been Hope. Hope has been his god, and so, like, that is his nature. Like, his nature is to worship. So,
right.
Like I said, I mean, I think probably in a vacuum it was like a fine comic, but this is very much the follow-on to this new status quo, which I just have no time for. I just don't have any interest in it at all. After, obviously loving the Krakoa era, so I just am not interested in the post-Krakoa era much at all.
But you did read it, though.
I did, because I'm a sucker, and I've read every X-Men comic ever made. I mean, I like, at least the in-continuity ones. Like, I just what I do. I read X-Men and Avengers books even when they stink. I don't know what to tell you. It is a disease that I someday will maybe break myself of, but until that time, I continue to read them.
Well, the positives, I think Lucas Werneck's art was awesome.
Well, he's great. He's one of the current. I always want to say young guns, but what do they call them?
Stormbringers.
Stormbringer, yeah, Stormbringer or Breaker? Stormbreaker, right? Yeah, he's one of the Stormbreakers currently, and I just think deservedly so. He's great.
Kind of cool how Charlie was conjuring mental monsters to keep the Orcus agents, the agents off the island. That was neat. I don't know. I was entertained.
Yeah, no, like I said, I mean, if the status quo change doesn't hit you on an emotional level, which I would imagine for most people it doesn't, then it's probably fine, because then it's like just another well executed superhero comic. Like, it's all good.
You love Selene too, right?
Yeah, I do. I mean,
she's banging.
I like Selene. I mean, I don't, I mean, but even that, it's like, I mean, like, okay, like, we're bringing Selene, like, they brought Selene back in earlier issues of Immortal. I don't know if you read 14 just on its own, or if you've been reading Immortal. I don't know where you are with that, but they brought Selene in to be a member of the council.
Right.
Oh, I didn't know if you had been reading it, like, concurrent, if you had been, but and like, I thought that was kind of like, like, okay, like, I don't know, like, I guess what I don't understand is, like, I just feel like, what, Dap, you'll get this reference, Vince, maybe not, like, this to me read like when Vince books WWE, and it's like, you have a story that they're laying out, and you're like, oh, I'm feeling this, like, okay, and then one day you turn on Raw or like a pay-per-view, and like, it's the same people, but like, none of the things that he had been building to, he just changes his mind to those different stories.
Yep.
And you're like, that's what this felt like to me. It's like, okay, like, it's the same characters, but they're not acting like they've been acting. It's like they got mind swiped. They're all acting dumber than they're dumb now. I don't understand why they're dumb. So that's what I didn't get. Like, it just didn't feel like there was such a tight precision. Like, the beauty of the Quiet Council is that they're all badasses. They all were calculating and all had their own agendas, but those agendas collectively worked until they didn't. And like, now they read to me like just much more simplistic versions of these characters, like the ones I would have found in like a Chuck Dixon version of X-Men. Like, it's like, all right, like, so now these guys, like, they just seemed like they didn't have depth to them. And again, like, maybe I'm looking for things to be bothered by because I'm so appalled by the fact that the Krakoa era is ending the way it is. But again, like, so I fully recognize that people's mileage may vary, but for me, there's probably a direct correlation to the fact that, like, yeah, Children of the Vault is kind of, yes, it's like, but the Children of the Vault are their own thing, right? Like, yes, this is all taking place in theory because the Hellfire Gala happened, but like, the Children of the Vault were always ready to do this. It's just that they were being kept at bay during the Hickman era, and now they're back out like that. So it doesn't feel like, like everything, like Immortal X-Men felt the most to me like, okay, well, this is the new editorial direction, so like, let's make lemonade out of lemons. So yeah, and it bums me out because like Immortal X-Men by far been my favorite X book over the run. Like, so it is what it is.
Well, what does it say about the new direction? And it just may be the excitement of it, but it attracted 2 out of 3 of us who don't normally read all of the X books to read them.
True. Although I don't want to put words in Daph's mouth, but I would assume, because of the way we all share what we're reading, it seems like you read them, I read them, and then Daph's like, well, let me see. And he has some time, so he read them. Like, Daph, like, I don't, like, you weren't planning theoretically, like, 2 months ago when these were solicited to read all these, right? Like, it's probably
no.
Yeah.
But if it was something he really detested or just had absolutely no interest in, he wouldn't have read them at all.
Sure. Yeah, maybe being able to jump in and out of the X books in a situation like this is good, right? Because
I think so.
Yeah, because
and we
you're
all
not, like,
we knew it was coming. I mean, Hickman departed, and we knew that good things. I mean, if you've been a reader of the Big Two for any stretch of time, you know that good things just don't last, right? Especially a status quo changing take like Hickman's.
With the X-Men.
There was no way that status quo was going to stick around forever. But we were hoping that maybe we would get a couple more years out of it. I mean, creatively, I
just think there's a lot more stories to tell that would have been new. You know, in that status, like in that world where they were a certain way, there would have been. I think there was plenty more stories to be told that would have felt new, fresh.
I think that's the whole point. Hickman invested so much creative substrate, let's just say, into the X universe. Don't you do it? That there were stories, many more stories left to tell. And it was, I mean, it's sad that it ended the way it did, in a creative sense. Nobody wants to see.
Well, really, and again, like, this is not it's maybe unfair to factor this in the equation, but I'm feeling some kind of way about the fact that Hickman's back at Marvel. Like, okay, then why did this all happen then? Like, as I understand it, and maybe this is like too inside Hollywood for listeners, but like, Hickman and a few other creators, some of which we know very well, I'll leave it at that, got crazy great deals at Marvel a few years ago. Like, really, really advantageous deals they couldn't say no to. And those deals all ran their course, and for reasons that we don't need to get into, none of them were renewed, at least in the same way, of the same magnitude. Hickman, not surprisingly, opted to bounce and to do creator-owned stuff again, right? Which more power to him. I love everything he's ever done on the creator-owned side, so that made me I'm fine with that. But now he's back. He's fucking doing Ultimates. He's doing like Gods. Like, so if he's back doing like major Marvel events, then why did this happen? Like, why? Like, I don't understand. Why isn't he just still running the X Room? If you go back and listen to interviews he did, he had like a 400-page Bible that he sent Brevoort and Dan, like, to pitch all of this, and said, but you need to give me 5 years plus to do it. And they were like, well, let's do it. Like, it's not like I'm imagining that he, like, it's not like I'm like, oh, he should keep going. People are like, oh, maybe he didn't have it. He had lots more story to tell. And like, and if you go back and hear, like, it was so brilliant the way he thought it through. It wasn't just like, oh, this would be a cool story. Like, he thought it all through. Like, he spent so much time about the resurrection, and it wasn't just like his idea was that I'm so sick and tired of superhero comics treating death like it's a big deal when all the fans know it's not, because they're coming right back. So I told all the other writers that were going to write X books that we're going to make them immortal, so you can't use that as a trope. So you can't write a story where someone gets killed and we're supposed to feign that we care. And I was like, that's fucking brilliant. Like, that's so meta. Like, he is removing an annoying thing from superhero comics as a rule by enabling it whole hand. Like, I'm like, that's next level. Like, that's really smart storytelling. That's like Alan Moore kind of thing. Like, what is the trope that we use too much of, and let's create a world where that trope is no longer functional. So, like, there was so much depth of thought to it, and why the stories felt different is because he's put guardrails up that made the tropes that writers fall into impossible to use. And that was what made this world cool. And now we have all of those tropes back in spades, yet Hickman's back being like one of Marvel's major writers. It's like, I feel like my head's going to explode. Like, if Hickman was just off doing Image books, I wouldn't even think twice. But, like, my dude is writing 2 major Marvel events right now. Like, I feel like I'm going insane. It's crazy to me. I don't know what happened.
Well, from a creative aspect or perspective, I would think that, I mean, if I somehow jumped into Hickman's body and was able to translate his thoughts, I would assume anyway, that all of that energy he put into the X books, and being as creatively robust as they were, how do you work in an atmosphere where all the stuff that you just made in a sense, been erased. Like, yeah, you know the game going in. You understand. So you're very aware of just how these big two comics work. But his X-Men stuff was on a level, I think I'm pretty safe to say that it was unforeseen. That, unless we're talking Age of Apocalypse, right? That was a singular event where everything changed for a little bit of time, a blip. But Hickman's X-Men went out for years.
Yeah.
What? 5 years. So all of the stuff that you made, all of this electricity and energy that you funneled into this creative construct has now been leached out.
Yeah.
And how do you work under that? Like what?
I think most of the creators like you said, I think this is kind of thing where if you listen to professional athletes, like if you ever like listen to an interview with them, a lot of them will say something that bothers fans. They'll say something akin to like, well, the fans care about the wins and losses more than we do. Now, that's not true of every athlete, but like I've heard many like great Hall of Fame caliber athletes say that, and like fans get all up in arms about it. And their point is more like, well, listen, I mean, like this is a job for me. Like this is how I make my living. Like, yeah, I care on some level, but like it's what I do. So like I can't care. I can't like die over it, right? Like this is what I do for a living. My point being, like, I think with any writer artist at the big two, like you just accept that when you're done with the toys, they're getting put back in the box for someone else to open. Like you can't get upset that it's going to be different, because if you do, you have trouble, right? Like Claremont, obviously, like salty Claremont, like, oh, I don't read them anymore. Well, like that's probably the right move. Because like if you think that what's come after you isn't as good as what you would have done, then you're probably mental health wise better to not bother reading it than to read it and get all salty about how they're ruining what you did, right? So that's where Hickman is. I doubt Hickman's reading the X-Men comics right now. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I doubt he is.
Right, but I mean, if he's doing a line-wide event, at least a thematic thing that all the books are going to be repeating, how do you not see what's going on in the X books and not be like, well, you know, my ideas are way better. I mean,
I guess the check's big enough, right?
Right.
I
mean, sure. That makes everything better. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's how we keep you around.
It's true, because yeah. The only dividends I get from this show is the joy of being around you two. That's it.
The elation.
Yeah.
Nice.
One of those stocks returns more than the other, but we'll leave it at that.
Oh, that's hurtful. Okay.
How do you know it's you?
I mean, because you hit me. You call me an Eastman.
No, I got the freaking mud hole in my chest. But anyway, yeah. I mean, if you're adventurous, and maybe you're one of the few Marvel readers that didn't check out Hickman's X-Men, or any of the books under that umbrella, maybe you'll try these out. Maybe you'll enjoy them. I mean, I thought they were great, almost all of them, and I think we all got a significant amount of entertainment from them. So
definitely,
what more can you expect?
No doubt, no doubt.
Yeah. So, as usual, this Dog and Pony Show has been brought to you by CheapGraphicNovels.com. Everything you need to know is right there in the name. CheapGraphicNovels.com. Go there, place an order. You'll receive an email confirmation. Reply to that confirmation. 11 o'clock comics sent me, and you will be gifted with free shipping on your next order. It's a huge windfall. It really is. And check out the Patreon page. It's still there. Changes are brewing and will be coming. So patreon.com/11 o'clock comics 11, no apostrophe. Just take a look around. It's fun stuff. I'm going to go with this one because it's the one that I don't want to speak on at length. I didn't not enjoy it, but as a culmination to the miniseries, I think it's lacking. But yeah, so if I'm telling you to go in your travels, go read this, and the last issue doesn't fulfill the promise or the potential of the first issue. Are you really going to read it? I don't know, but I have to be honest. I don't want to go short on the other stuff on my list, so I'll tell you about this one. Last Barbarians #5, written by Brian Haberlin and Hannah Wall, art by Brian Haberlin, colors by Jared Van Dyke. I don't know, Dap, maybe you can back me up on this one. I thought it ended... I just thought that there was a whole lot more of the story untold, and the creative team kind of just threw caution to the wind and finished it. Because I don't think it was a super satisfying ending.
It was not.
Okay, at least we're on the same page there. It just felt, like all the momentum that they had built in the 4 issues was kind of squandered by this last issue.
Yeah. And especially with the penultimate issue, you had this great, the cliffhanger at the end, and you're like, holy crap, how are they going to get out of this? And then it kind of just...
Literally solved by a wave of a wand.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was...
it's like, we could never... we weren't supposed to trust Falk from the beginning, and
well, you knew that
proved out to be. But I thought that some of the whole idea behind the bidding between chaos and order and who was actually on which side, and there were parts of that issue, like it started off like you were reading. It was continuing the story that you were enjoying, but then about halfway through, you're like, "This is it." We're kind of just putting a neat little bow on it, like nothing. Like there was no what was the danger? Where were the consequences? It's like we just end happily ever after.
I thought it was a little bit too convenient that they split both of the pairs.
Yes.
The ladies I couldn't care less about, but
Wax and Wayne,
that was, I think, was a neat concept, and I would like to have seen that continue in should this series ever get another mini. I don't know. I don't want to denigrate what happened, but it's one of those things where
we were loving where it started,
right?
It just felt a little left down.
Yeah, if you sit through a film for 2 hours and the last half hour is this, I don't know. I just do not think it was a great return, a creative return on our emotional investment.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah. If you, I don't even know.
Arousing in your track.
The first 4 issues of the last Barbarian.
I think the 4 issues are fun. They're great, and I'm a Brian Haberlin mark. Like I'll read anything that he does, but it's just this was a little. It was a little off. Yeah. I think the potential of the inherent in at least the first 2 issues would have, I don't know, maybe a 12-issue series to really explore all the stuff that they set up in the initial stages of this mini. It just, I don't think 5 issues was enough. I guess that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Would I like? I'd love to see Silva again. And the Malcolm's cool, and well, unfortunately, our dynamic duo is no more. But yeah, Last Barbarians, try it. Just jump out of the car when the 5-issue marker, speeds by. Just jump out. Write your own ending. There you go.
There you go.
That's not nice, but it's true.
In your travels. This was fun because this just brought me back to the annuals of the 80s, and talking about Superman Annual 2023, written by Joshua Williamson. Slew, bevy, plethora of artists. Mahmoud kicks us off. Then we have Edwin Gallman, Caitlin Yarsky, Max Rayner, and Jack Herbert. Colors are by Dave McKeag, Edwin Gallman, and Alex Guimarães. It's basically a story, and the reason why we have different artists is because it's kind of like an anthology. It's Lois, who's currently the acting editor-in-chief of the Daily Planet. There's a little bit of a lull. People are a little complacent, so she sends her staff, and staff in question. Clark Kent is on assignment, so he's not available. But that's because we see him taking on one of Toyman's inventions in the background. But Jimmy Olsen, Kat Grant, Trish Q, Steve Lombard, Lisa Lombard, Ron Troop, Erica Edge, and Miko Ogawa. Lois is sending them all out, and she's flipping the script. Instead of dealing with sports, she's sending Steve Lombard to the prison so he can have an interview with Livewire. Kat Grant, instead of writing about any gossip, she's going on patrol with Metropolis PD. So she's just having everybody kind of just shake things up. The issue was a lot of fun. Jimmy and Lisa go to Supercorp, the former LexCorp, and get a tour. We get a nice little cutaway of the building there. Parasite is an employee there, and he's wearing a power dampening device, so it's not like he's going to go crazy. Drawn very cute too, but you've got we've got an appearance by Robinson Good, of course, she was created during the Bendis run. She's the Red Cloud, part of the Invisible Mafia, so it was a nice little throwback. There are a couple of pages where we do get a little bit of Superman in this issue, and my man looks an awful lot like Christopher Reeve. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I haven't seen that really since Gary Frank did it, but going to get to the epilogue where Dr. Farm and that's PHARM and Mr. Graft have a longtime favorite of mine basically held hostage as a prisoner, and I'm talking about Lobo. But the very last page is just knocked me on my ass because we have Brainiac standing above the bottled city of Zarnia, and they're whatever's going to happen in Superman dealing with Lobo or any, because he's adamant about being the last one, except for that no good daughter of his that he claims he had. It was a great last page. I'm looking forward to this. Continues in Superman number 6, so we're post Night Terrors, but this was just the annual itself was a lot of fun seeing the Daily Planet reporters in action. Not so much a lot of focus on Superman himself, but it was nice to see his supporting cast get some love, and I was glad to see it. So yeah, in your travels, Superman Annual for 2023.
Nice. In your travels, there is Noah Van Sciver. I talked about his book about the Mormons, and that at the time I'd been pretty uninformed about Noah's work, and was really so impressed with it that I've been reading a lot of his older stuff and enjoying it. And he's great. And again, I know I'm really late to the table there, but I was certainly, because of that, really excited for his new book, which is, and I want to get the whole title right here, so let me pull it out. Paul Bunyan, The Invention of an American Legend. It's written and drawn by Noah, but it also has other pieces in it, including stories by Marlena Miles, Lee Francis IV, and DeAndre Smiles, who are three Native Americans, indigenous people, which I thought was a really nice touch by Noah. But this book is very different than the Mormon book, and it's why I did it for In Your Travels, because it's much slighter. Like it's basically the size of like a Gold Key book, pretty small page count. This isn't a huge tome that like dives deep, because obviously Paul Bunyan is a fictitious character versus Joseph Smith, but it's published through the Toon Graphics, so it's intended for younger readers. But it is, as with all Van Sciver things, still very much worth your time and effort. It talks about the very real history behind Paul Bunyan, and that it was, a lot of us, myself included, just thought of it as, I just lumped it in with all the other kinds of like folk tales that I'm familiar with, right, from being a kid. But this was actually an advertising ploy by a timber company, a lumber company that was deforesting, and they created this as an ad, basically as a marketing pitch, which I had no idea. So this story is told from that vein. It shows us W.B. Loeb, who is the marketing person that actually created Paul Bunyan, and his use of the character to help market and PR the lumber company that he worked for. And the cool part about that is that then we have these indigenous folks like Marlena who write and draw stories from their vantage about Paul Bunyan and the history of the character for them growing up in these areas, and then the very complicated history of coming to realize like what he was and what these forestry companies did to their native land. So it's a very informative book, really well done. I mean, I very much like Van Sciver's art style. And I don't know that the dude is capable of making a bad comic. I think he's just on one, like a perpetual one. So fun stuff, quick read. I don't know the page count. I don't even know if it has a page count, but it's small. It's like, oh, here we go. It's 48 pages, and that includes the essays. So it's a hardcover, but like I said, it really much looks like a Gold Key book because it is a hardcover, but you're getting probably like 35 pages of comic all in, give or take. So. But still worth your time. I enjoyed it. Paul Bunyan, The Invention of an American Legend.
Nice. So you're going through all the Noah Van Sciver stuff?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let me know when you get to the Grateful Dead book.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I will.
Uh-huh.
My God. Deadpan. Deadpan's not fun.
Just sit by the phone, dude.
Well, you know how to get me.
And before we do sign off, I will say I read Where Black Stars Rise this week on your recommendation. It was delightful.
Oh, nice.
Yep, liked it a lot.
Excellent. I like when you say delightful.
There you go. But you were right, man. It's interesting because, like I said, when you were talking about this book, and you said it was from Mary Anker, I said, "Oh, is it hot pink?" Because I'm so used to her using colors as such a big part of her storytelling, and then I know you said it was yellow, and obviously it makes perfect sense given the the connections that it has. But the yellow is so prominent in this book, but it is very much on brand for her visually. Like that, this is, it just makes so much sense that she would have just swapped out her penchant for neon colors for yellow, given the subject matter.
Right. Really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, everybody. Hey. We thank you for being here with us one more time. We hope you come back next time. We have a guest
next week.
Guest, and then did we announce the book of the month? I don't think we did.
We did not. Although I
Jesus.
did. It's funny. I do want to give a shout out to our pals. I'm following Jason, and this week I was on Comics Discourse 114. The episode, I do believe, will be released next week. We talked the Matt Wagner and Amy Reeder, Madame Xanadu. And I did mention that I jokingly said that it's funny. We didn't announce it on the show yet, but if their episode is released next week, you won't hear it there first. But this month, our book of the month is The massive tome that is Tales to Enlighten Volume 2.
Whoop, whoop.
It's dirty. It's so dirty.
It's
so
so
good.
dirty.
Yeah.
What have you done?
It's almost like it was made with my taste in mind. Right? Everything that I love is in that book.
Oh, yeah.
Cult, dirtiness, violence,
Boobs.
big dingy dongs. Like
Can't wait to
everything.
get into it.
Right.
Yep.
It's even bigger than the first one.
I associate a lot of those things with you, but big ding dongs is not something I associate with you.
Thanks, everybody, for being here with us. We love you so much. In the meantime, go to your comic shop, buy some books, talk about them, love them, then give your loved ones a big old hug, because you never know. God bless you, Frankie. And
well said. Yeah, well said.
yeah, pet your pets, and say goodnight. What have I done? Don't play that. The Deadites are going to come out, David. I've watched that movie 3 times.
I still have to. Good night.
Mommy's with the maggots. Very well done.
Yes.
David.
Nice. It is all the boys' fault, though. Completely 100% all the boys' fault.
Yep.
Yeah. You just don't mess with shit like that. The fact that the tomb was covered in crucifixes didn't
He's an idiot. Yeah, of course.
He is.
Of
He's an
course.
idiot.
Yeah, absolutely
Didn't that give you any? But the thing that got me is this. I'm being David here for a second. When they go to get the pizza, and they come back, and the sister, I forget her name, Rachel, is carrying the pizza, and the little girl's carrying the giant frickin' sodas, and the son is carrying nothing but his backpack. Like, what kind of a dumbass are you to let a 7-year-old carry those giant sodas? Like, of course she's going to drop them. And that was my take on that scene. Not that there's an earthquake that revealed the Book of the Dead, but that this little girl dropped 3 giant sodas, and now that's money wasted.
That's not as derogatory as you made it out to sound.
What do you mean?
I want to be David for a second.
No, you know how you care about stuff like that?
I know.
Yeah. No, he let his little sister carry these giant friggin' big gulp cups, 3 of them. Yeah. And she's a little kid. This adorable little girl. And she gets scared, and of course she's going to drop the sodas. Ridiculous.
I mean, even if you want to let her carry them, 'cause she's a big girl and she wants to, but
too much weight.
Be aware.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Just stand next to her so that you can
his head
take
is
over
so far
necessary.
up his
Right.
ass. Yeah.
Yeah, ridiculous.
But it just propelled the story, so there you go. But I get it. The kid's a dumbass. Bye, people. Tell them sincerely.
Bye.
No.
I love you guys so much.
Oh, all the loves. Love you so hard.
Hard.
Capital H. Same H you use for
like
curves.
Juice Robinson. Rock hard like Juice Robinson.
Now
Yes.
see, now you're ruining it. You're ruining it.
Blue Club Gold, baby.
Bang bang gang.
We're done. I can't take no more of
The
this.
heavy sigh and everything, man.
That's it for that one.